Well, good evening. Welcome to Bedtime Stories with me, Pastor Michelle. Today's Friday, February 5th, and let's get started with our woman of the day. It's Jeannie Barrett, who was a secret sailor. So these, as I'm reading these, if these ever come up on Jeopardy, you'll have answers. So Jeannie grew up in poverty in France, but she still received an education. It just wasn't the kind one gets in a classroom. She received her education from nature. As a child, she learned about the healing power of plants from her parents. She later became known as the Herb Woman. She eventually worked as a housekeeper for Philibert Commerson, a naturalist. He shared her fascination with botany, the study of plants. In 1766, the French government decided to send a ship on a scientific journey around the world. They needed a botanist to collect plant specimens along the way. Commerson was hired. Jeannie wanted to go too. But at that time, it was illegal for a woman to sail on a French Navy ship. Jeannie wasn't going to let that stop her from embarking on a trip of a lifetime. So she hatched a dangerous plan. She would disguise herself as a man, show up at the ship as the ship was about to sail, and have Commerson hire her as his assistant. Commerson agreed to help, and the plan worked. Jeannie wore baggy clothes and worked alongside the men. No matter how difficult or backbreaking the situation was, she continued on, earning her the nickname Beast of Burden. For 2 years, she dodged the suspicious crew, collected and cataloged over 6,000 species of plants, and survived harsh living conditions in tight quarters. This was no vacation cruise. They endured foul weather, stormy seas, rats, and disease on a diet of salted meat and hard biscuits. One of their most famous discoveries was of a beautiful flowering plant Jeannie gathered the seeds to bring back with her. Today, the plant is grown worldwide, but this amazing discovery doesn't bear Jeannie's name. It's known as the Bougainvillea, after the French admiral leading the expedition, Louis-Antoine de Bougainville. Nobody knows exactly how Jeannie's masquerade as a man was discovered, but it was. Even though she had broken the law, she'd been a valuable asset to the expedition, so she escaped imprisonment. But as punishment, Jeannie and Commerson were left on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean while the ship returned to France. They continued to discover and study plants, amassing one of the world's greatest collections of specimens. 5 years later, Commerson died, and Jeannie returned to France, becoming the first woman to circumnavigate the globe. First woman to circumnavigate the globe is Jeannie Barrett. Remember that. For any trivia. In 2012, Jeannie finally got the recognition as a botanist, and this was what she deserved. A new South American flowering plant species, Solanum barrata, was named in her honor. It's unique and interesting, just like Jeannie herself. All right, so that's good for her. I mean, if it wasn't for some of these women, we wouldn't have the first. I think we are making great strides when it comes to building a world of equity and equality for all. I mean, it's hard to even express how amazing it is that we have a woman vice president, woman of color, no less. So slowly but surely, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, and he was actually quoting someone else when he said it, the moral arc of the universe does bend towards justice, even though it may take a while. It's slowly looking that way. So our Disney story tonight comes from Finding Nemo, and it's called Hide Dude. All right. Come on, Squirt, Nemo cried happily. Race you to the coral shelf. Nemo took off, pumping his mismatched fins as hard as he could. His young sea turtle friend laughed and swam after him. Squirt was visiting Nemo at his home on the reef. This way, dude, Squirt yelled, flinging himself through the water. I'm catching some red current over here. It's fun to talk like that. Nemo hesitated for just a second, watching as his friend tumbled along past some stinging coral. Squirt was so brave, even after all that Nemo had been through, being captured by a scuba diver, then escaping from a tank to find his way home again. He still got scared. With a deep breath, he threw himself into the current. He tumbled after Squirt, fins flying as the water carried him along. Finally, he came out the other end of the current, landing in the still ocean beside Squirt. He giggled. Hey, that was fun. Let's do it again, Squirt. Squirt, what's wrong? The sea turtle was staring into the distance, his eyes wide. Hi, dude! Squirt cried, but before Nemo could respond, Squirt's legs and head popped into a shell, and he landed on the sea floor. He landed on the seafloor with a flop. Nemo started trembling. What had scared Squirt so much? He looked around, expecting to see a shark, but all he could see nearby were a few pieces of coral with a lone Spanish dancer floating along above them. Hey, what is it? There's nothing scary out here. Suddenly, Nemo realized something. Haven't you ever seen a Spanish dancer before? A Spanish what? It's a kind of sea slug. Don't worry, Spanish dancers are nice. Finally, Squirt's head popped out again. He smiled at Nemo. Sorry, dude. I never saw one of those before, and it just totally freaked me out. It's okay. Nemo smiled back. He already knew that new things could be scary, and now he knew he wasn't the only one who thought so. Come on, let's just go play. So, it's a great story, and I think it's important to remember that it's okay to be scared. It's not okay to let your fear keep you from acting, though. Acting on whatever, doing things that need to get done. Look at Martin Luther King Jr. Look at Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks. All those people, they were probably scared when they took those steps, when MLK said his I Have a Dream speech, when Rosa Parks refused to stand up on the bus, when Harriet Tubman freed all those slaves. I'm sure that they had fear, but they never let the fear debilitate them. So it's okay to be afraid. It's a scary time right now. But just don't let your fear control you. And there's the more you know, those NBC things that they used to do back in the day. God bless you.